Hello, everyone. So let me get set up here. Well, I cannot help but grin from ear to ear to ear, seeing all of these wonderful green volunteers and candidates behind me. However I felt coming up here, this is absolutely the vitamin C boost, the tonic that I need. I'm so thrilled that you all came. I'm already feeling good. And I'm so happy to be with you here today on the traditional territories of the Mississauga of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, the Huron-Wendat. Bonjour tout le monde, c'est un plaisir d'être ici avec tous nos bénévoles, nos candidats dans les prochaines élections, tous nos membres qui ont décidé d'être ici avec moi aujourd'hui. C'est vraiment un honneur et merci beaucoup. And yes, you can make some noise. Okay. Okay. I have to pivot my foot. I made the mistake of wearing heels in the grass, and one of my heels is stuck in the grass now. I'm not. Why dissimulate? That's what's happening. So I'm going to try to get through this as briefly as I can to make myself available for as many questions as I can. First, I wanted to begin by reading a couple of notices that have been posted on the Green Party website today. The first is that there's a bit of a backfeed. The current motions of non-confidence against Green Party of Canada leader Annamie.
There's no volume on our end. Can you do a test screen, please?
Yep, can you hear me now? Is the mic off, perhaps?
Grassroots hear you.
Exactly.
Check again.
Test, can you hear me?
She can't hear me. Yeah. Oh, you're good.
We're all good. Okay, all right. That may not be the last, but that's okay. Okay, so in terms of the notice, the first reads as follows. The current motions of non-confidence against Green Party of Canada leader Annamie Paul will no longer be considered during the term of the current federal council. No further motions of non-confidence against the leader will be proposed to the current federal council or prior to the next general meeting of the Green Party. The second notice reads, the membership review process with regard to Annamie Paul's membership in the Green Party has been suspended. So that is very good news. And while I can't enter into all of the details, let me say that I believe that a very big part of my job as leader of the Green Party of Canada is to ensure that our members and our volunteers and the candidates that are working so hard to get elected and bring a bigger green voice to Parliament deserve certainty. And I considered it my job to do that. And, you know, sometimes enough is enough. And it's important for us to be able to move forward with the certainty we need to win seats in the next election. This moment has been, I did not time it with the bells, but I will say it, it's apropos. This moment has been one of the most painful in my life. This experience has been incredibly painful for me and for my family, and I want to be upfront about that. It is extremely hard to have your integrity questioned when you value it so much. It's extremely hard to have your commitment to human rights and social justice questioned. It was very hard and remains very hard to be stripped of many of the tools that I need to be an effective leader. It's difficult to read in the papers, despite the fact that I haven't given any interviews on this matter since June the 28th, so almost 3 weeks, that there is feuding and infighting going on, when in fact what this is a one-sided campaign to limit or to, taking it to its logical conclusion, end my leadership of this party. It's hard to explain to my kids what the impact of all of this has been and why this is happening in the first place. And more than anything, it is very frustrating exactly because we have such a wonderful party and so many wonderful candidates and so many wonderful volunteers. It's very hard to see that we are compromising our ability to do what we were born to do as a party, which is to elect as many Green MPs as possible. And so right? That's it. That's the bottom line. And so for me, I have thought many times over the last number of weeks of packing it in. And I think that anybody in my situation that is in it for the right reasons would have considered stepping down. Has been incredibly difficult and taken quite a toll. The reason that I haven't is because, it should not be this difficult. It should not be this difficult for people of goodwill, people with experience, to offer it in service to their country. There are too many good people that have found it impossible, and I simply didn't want to be one of them. I haven't stopped because of the members who elected me not that long ago in a very lengthy democratic process. I haven't stopped because there are candidates, some standing behind me, who have given up a great deal and invested a great deal in running for us in the next election. And I also didn't want to let down all of the people, young, old, from different backgrounds, different underrepresented groups, who had asked me over the course of the last 8 to 9 months, is there a place for someone like me in politics? Is there a place for me? And I want the answer finally to be yes. And so I was not prepared to be the third woman in the course of a month who had offered her service, who was extremely qualified, who made the decision that there was no place for them in politics and that there was no way for them to contribute their service. I wasn't going to be that person. Every person brings their entire experience to politics. And in my case, absolutely, I bring my education and the rest of it. I bring my law degree from the University of Ottawa. I bring my master's degree in public affairs from Princeton University. I bring my fellowships, my national and international fellowships. I bring all the organizations that I founded. But I also bring the rest of myself as well. I bring my mother, who's here, who came here as an immigrant, along with my father with nothing. I bring my experience sleeping 3 in a fold-out bed in my grandma's living room. I bring all of that to politics as well, and that is the important part of the contribution that I can make to politics. So when my kids ask me, Mom, why do you keep going? Why have you kept going during this period when it's been so hard? What I tell them is that diversity in politics matters. And I tell them that you come from a family where we are both literally and figuratively survivors. I also tell them that as painful as this moment has been for us as a family, that it has been even more painful for people over the last 1.5 years during this pandemic. We have had a painful experience, but it has been nothing compared to those who have lost their loved ones unnecessarily in long-term care. Nothing compared to the pain of those communities who have been discovering the unmarked graves of their children's bodies across the country. Nothing compared to the searing pain in your throat of a forest fire out of control and your community smoked out. Nothing compared to the residents in Lytton who have lost their community as it burned to the ground. Nothing compared to the hundreds of people in Canada, particularly seniors, who escaped death during the pandemic, but then succumbed to death because of the heat dome that laid waste to British Columbia. So I see my experience in that context, and that is why I will go on. That is why I will seek to serve. In the context of our party, I was elected to bring diversity and more democracy to our party, and we have had, in a very short period of time, tremendous success. In the last election cycle, we had the least diverse slate of candidates, and that includes the People's Party of Canada. In this election cycle, we might have the most diverse. 71% of our approved applicants at this point, come from diverse groups. And so that is an extraordinary achievement. And it's climbing, So I am very proud, as you can see, to be the leader of the Green Party of Canada. I believe that the Green Party of Canada has the very best ideas on the climate. It has the most progressive policies, and the same reasons that I chose to join the Green Party are the same reasons that I remain here now. I'm not afraid of being part of something that is daring. I'm not afraid of building something that I believe in, that we believe in. And what we believe in is that it is time, and we have seen this yet again in this situation, it is time for a new culture in politics. It is time for a true spirit of cooperation, collaboration, and inclusion. And the change happens when we insist upon it. I also believe, and most Greens believe as well, that at this moment in time, this crossroads that we face as a country, that we can be heroes. This can be the generation of people in Canada who finally bend the curve on our warming planet. We can be those people. This can be the generation of people in Canada who says every single person in Canada can and will live with dignity. So this is what we believe in, and it's why I'm so excited to see Greens elected all over the country. I'm excited to see Phil DeLuna elected in Toronto St. Paul's, the youngest ever director at the National Research Council. I'm excited to see Adrian Curry elected in the Davenport riding. I'm excited to see more Greens elected and to support them because I know the difference that it will make in people's lives when more Greens are elected. And so as we turn this page, I want to encourage everyone in Canada who has questions about our party, who is wondering what comes next, to know that we are at the dawn of a new era. We are at the dawn of an exciting new generation of politics in this country. I hope they will get to know the extraordinary candidates that we will be offering to them in the next election. I hope that they will read about our progressive policies, and I hope that if they're excited about our vision, that they will join us. And thank you very much to everyone who has supported me throughout this period. I will say it because I'm trying to be a very authentic and honest politician. I want people to know what it's like. I want you to know, every person who wrote, who texted, who emailed, who posted on social media, it made a difference to me. And it made a difference to my decision about whether I would be here today saying what I'm saying. And so thank you very much. And please know that I will continue to need your support. Right, I'm good. Okay, alors brièvement en français. Oh wait, sorry, I have to do it in French. Oh. Ok, alors brièvement en français. Il y a deux avis qui ont été transmis aujourd'hui. D'abord, que les motions de censure en cours déposées contre la chef du Parti vert du Canada, Annamie Paul, ne seront plus examinées pendant le mandat du Conseil fédéral actuel. Aucune autre motion de censure ne sera présentée au Conseil fédéral actuel à l'encontre de Mme Paul, ni avant la prochaine Assemblée générale du Parti vert. Et la deuxième, que le processus de révision de l'adhésion d'Annamie Paul au Parti vert a été suspendu. Comme je viens de dire en anglais, je suis ici parce que, et comme je ne peux pas dévoiler tous les détails, mais je veux dire que moi je crois que ma responsabilité, c'est d'assurer que nos candidats et candidates, que nos bénévoles ont la sécurité et la clarité nécessaires pour continuer dans leur travail à élire plus de verts dans les prochaines élections. Ça a été une période très douloureuse pour moi et mon famille. C'est très difficile d'être questionné sur des valeurs de base comme les droits de la personne, mon intégrité, les choses que moi je valorise beaucoup. C'est difficile en tant que mère d'expliquer à ma famille et mes enfants pourquoi tout ça se passe. Alors bien sûr, il y a eu des moments où j'ai questionné si ça vaut la peine de continuer, absolument. Mais la raison que je n'ai pas arrêté, c'est précisément grâce à nos bénévoles, c'est grâce à nos membres, c'est grâce à nos candidats. Et c'est aussi parce qu'il y a un moment où on doit dire stop. On doit dire que les femmes comme moi qui cherchent à contribuer leur expérience, leur vie professionnelle, leur expérience politique, qu'ils ont l'opportunité de le faire. Et je ne voulais pas être la troisième femme provenant d'un groupe racisé, de dire dans un mois qu'il n'y a pas de place pour nous dans la vie fédérale politique de notre pays. Alors, j'ai dit non. J'ai aussi expliqué à mes enfants que oui, c'est un moment très pénible, très douloureux pour notre famille, mais imaginez-vous comment ce moment se passe pour les gens, les résidents de Lytton qui ont perdu leur maison. Comment ça se passe pour les personnes qui ont perdu leurs proches dans les centres de soins de longue durée. Comment ça se passe pour les communautés qui ont trouvé tous ces temps non marqués de leurs enfants autochtones partout au pays, et ça continue. Alors, c'est pour ces raisons que je continue, et c'est le contexte où je sais, oui, c'est douloureux pour moi, mais il y a quelque chose de plus important. Je veux contribuer, je veux être là pour participer dans la vie politique de notre pays. Alors, je suis énormément fière d'être le chef du Parti vert. Le Parti vert est dans un moment de renouvellement. Un moment où nous avons décidé, les membres ont décidé que nous allons prioriser la diversité et la démocratie. Que nous allons aller chercher les candidats et candidates provenant des groupes divers. Et c'est une bonne nouvelle parce que grâce à notre campagne Faites le saut, à peu près 70% de nos contestants approuvés provient des groupes sous-représentés. Alors nous, en tant que Verts, nous croyons dans une nouvelle politique de coopération, de collaboration, d'inclusion. Si vous êtes intéressés dans ça, nous sommes le parti pour vous. Les raisons que j'avais choisi de me postuler, présenter dans le cours pour la chefferie, c'était exactement parce que le Parti vert propose les politiques les plus progressistes. Et on propose les idées les meilleures pour l'environnement, pour lutter contre la crise climatique. Nous sommes innovateurs, nous sommes audaces et nous ne sommes pas peur de créer les choses ensemble. Alors, nous allons créer ensemble, si on le veut, une génération de Canadiens et Canadiennes audaces qui ont l'ambition de finalement tourner le coin sur la lutte contre la crise climatique et d'assurer que chaque personne dans notre pays peut vivre une vie digne de la première jour jusqu'au dernier jour. C'est ça l'objectif. Alors, si ça vous intéresse, je vous encourage d'aller chercher vos candidats. Candidats comme Phil de Luna de Toronto St. Paul's, Adrian Curry de Davenport et les candidats et candidates énormément qualifiés qui vont toujours mettre leur communauté, les résidents de leur circonscription au centre de leur politique. Et je remercie tout le monde qui a écrit à moi, envoyé des emails, qui ont mis des posts en ligne. Je le remercie au fond de la fond de mon cœur, exactement parce que c'est grâce à vous que je suis ici. J'aurai toujours besoin de votre soutien. Et j'espère que, oui, c'est difficile pour moi, mais j'espère que ça va être beaucoup plus facile pour la prochaine personne. This was hard and this is hard for me, but let's make sure that it's never like this again for another woman like me. That is a legacy that I would love to be a part of. Thank you so much. Et je suis prête à prendre des questions. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you so much, Rosie. Our first question from the ground today comes from Laura from CBC.
Hello, Laura.
Hi there. Thank you for taking my question. A group of racialized Green Party members have sent an open letter to you which says that you're weaponizing racism and identity politics to silence support for Palestinian people. How do you respond to this?
I say that that's not correct, and I wouldn't say that. As I said, you know, it's one of the most painful things about this experience has been the questioning of my commitment to human rights. I'm someone who has worked in holding war criminals to account at the International Criminal Court. I've worked as a diplomat specifically on the files of conflict prevention and human rights. I've also been the director of a director in a global NGO focused specifically on protecting civilians in the case of deadly conflict. And so I have, you know, I put my money where my mouth is. I have dedicated a great deal of my professional career to protecting and upholding rights universally. There is absolutely it is completely unacceptable to me, and there's absolutely nothing to suggest that I don't do that universally. And so I'm sorry to hear that. They're extremely mistaken. I encourage them to review my record, and of course, again, as I said, it's a bit surreal to have to say it after all of that, but I will say that absolutely I support the rights of all. I believe that civilian protection in particular needs to be at the heart of any policy related to conflict prevention.
And will you be getting your staff back who were laid off and the $250,000 that was promised for your campaign writing?
I can't enter into the details. I mean, some of the things, unfortunately, and this is something I never do and have never done and will never do, I do not leak. It's very important to be professional and disciplined, and I will always do that. What I will say is that my staff, sadly, have not been returned to my office. I continue to be without staff. I believe that I referenced that at the beginning. So no, I don't have that. Our campaign, for the moment, still has not received any funding from the central office.
Thank you so much, Rosie. That's all the questions from the ground.
You guys can take off the masks.
I know, eh? Habit.
It's awfully hot. Are any of you sick? No. No, so why are you wearing them?
I know. Thanks.
Is that the next one?
Thanks very much. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, that's not my question, but no, so the situation with the statements you read out, can you tell us, I know you don't want to maybe go into the details of it, but can you tell us whether there was a internal arbitration process that led to this climb down by the Federal Council on the non-confidence vote and the membership review?
So Ian, you just said, I know you don't want to go into the internal details, and then you asked me about the internal details. It's that, you know, Princeton education there at work. I unfortunately, I cannot do that, and I don't, you know, anything that I could say today, I would say today, but I cannot, I can't answer that particular question.
Well, yeah, I want to, so the confidence vote, like the way that those statements are worded, it sounds like, you know, that the soonest confidence vote could be revived, if that is possible. It is after the next general meeting, which, as I understand, is scheduled for August 21st, I think, and then the membership review is quote unquote suspended. So in your view, are the threats to your leadership from your own party, is it, you know, are they ending today with these statements, or are they just
Well, I think that that's a great question, and thank you very much for that. What I can say is that I hope that given what we're all seeing here, this is uplifting my spirit enormously, given what we're seeing here about the desire of all of our members, and well, let's not say all, there is no all in life, but the most of our members to turn the page, to focus on the next election, which I don't believe should happen next month. It's opportunistic, it's unnecessary, but if it does, we need to be ready for it. They want to turn the page. You know, our members out in New Brunswick, in Prince Edward Island, these are people that have been calling me and saying, when are you coming out? When can we canvass together? You know, when is this going to wrap up? We see that we have candidates who are ready to get going, and none of us need this distraction. So I'm certainly hoping that this is the end of this. After the next election, there is an automatic leadership review for me, as there is with the other parties. I think that that's good enough, but I can't give you that guarantee, and that is exactly why I have said that I hope people will continue to support me. I hope that I will be given the opportunity to serve, and that's really what this is about. I want to lead us into the next election. I want to offer my service to our members and to Canada, and I'm hoping that those who feel otherwise will wait until a more appropriate time to, you know, make a move.
Yeah, hi there, Ms. Paul. So you just outlined that, you know, your Toronto Centre campaign is not being funded by the Centre Party, that they have not returned your staff, and that the threats to your leadership aren't, you know, completely over. They're just on hold until there is a campaign. But I'm wondering how you go to the electorate and ask them to support the Green Party and ask them to support you, when it appears like parts, at least, of the Green Party don't support you.
First, thank you for the question. First, I would say I defy you to find one major federal party where every member supports the leader, and perhaps I'll sign up for that one. Let's start with that. Okay, that is, okay. I mean, okay, so, I mean, just putting that aside, I will say that you're absolutely right. This is an incredibly important time for us to unify, absolutely. What we have experienced is not anything that the other major federal parties have not experienced. If you recall, in 2015, between 2015 and the writ dropping in 2019, the Liberals had 2 cabinet ministers, 2 women step down, senior women step down from their cabinet. Another one who chose to sit as an independent and leave the caucus altogether, and another Liberal woman who crossed the floor to the Conservatives. And yet they went on to win a minority in the next election, and they unified and they focused on the goal at hand. And so if they can do that with all of those defections and all of those people stepping down, etc., then surely we can do that. And it doesn't have to be for my sake. In fact, don't make it about me. Make it about Phil DeLuna. Make it about Adrian Curry. Make it about Mike Morris in Kitchener Centre, a social entrepreneur who has a fantastic chance of winning. Make it about Anna Keenan out in Prince Edward Island, who also has an extraordinary chance of winning her seat as well. Make it about all of these volunteers who have been waiting since the last election for the chance to convert the advances we made into new seats. So that is what I hope our councillors will focus on, this set of councillors, and they're only there until August. I want to stress that. This group of councillors will be replaced next month, and I hope that the next set of councillors will feel the same way.
Yeah, you know, I know what you're saying about the other federal parties, all of the leadership there, you know, that they have their dissenters as well. But all of the federal leaders have staff around them that is funded by the party. They have support in their riding coming from the federal party for the campaign. I think, like, you're dismissing this internal dissent amongst your party as not mattering. And I don't understand how you go to the electorate and say support us, make us potentially a key part of a minority government without having the full support of your party.
Well, again, I will repeat what I said before, but I think again that what you're proposing is an unnecessary and impossible standard. Any party that is a party that is welcoming, open, that seeks diversity of opinion is absolutely going to have people at any given time that don't support the leader, you know, that feel that someone would have been a better candidate. The question is, what do you do with that? Do you say, well, my choice didn't win, and so I'm going to continue to oppose until my choice gets in? Or are you going to say, you know what, my choice didn't get in, but it's not about my choice at a certain point, it's about everyone else. And when you say that I don't have support and I don't have people to help me, I encourage you to look around. Okay? This was very last minute, and this is what we're able to turn out at the very last minute. So I have support. We are just about to open, it's I guess a teaser, we're about to open in the next few days our office here in Toronto Centre. That's where you find me today. Okay, we are ready, we are organized, and as I said, would those other supports be helpful? Absolutely, and I hope that this council or the next one, because remember we will have Over 75% of our councillors will be replaced next month. I hope that they will do what federal councils have done in the past, which is to, and the fund as well, which is to support the leader, to make sure that, that I get elected, but more than anything, to make sure I have the tools to be an effective spokesperson for our members, to be their strong green voice. So thank you so much for the question, Chris. And what I will say is that one of the things I bring to politics is being a parent. I have 2 sons that are old enough to be able to follow all of these things online, and young enough that they're still being formed as young men. And the one thing that I know for sure that I'm going to depart politics with is the respect that my sons have for me. And the assurance in myself that I always modeled the values that I have been preaching to them throughout their childhood. One of those values is that you are honorable, that you don't do anything around the back way that you wouldn't feel comfortable doing in broad daylight. I will never leak. I will never seek to undermine any of our MPs, any of our members, any of the Green Party family, directly or indirectly. I am someone who, if I have a challenge or something that I want to raise with you, I do it directly. And so the question that you ask is a reasonable question to ask, and for me to discuss with you know, the people involved. I'm not going to engage in any kind of relationship via the press. That's absolutely not my style. It never will be. And so that's the way. That's that for that question. And there, once again, we've got that Princeton, University of Ottawa law degree just kicking into action. Your question again, I know that, you know, a dogged reporter has to do what they have to do. I know the question has to be asked, but I cannot answer that question. What I can say is what I did, which is that it's very important for me, if I'm going to lead and if I'm going to be respectful of the commitments and the investments and the sacrifice that our candidates, that our members have made, to do whatever I can to take situations in hand when it's clear that they need to be taken in hand. And that is what I have sought to do here, so that we can have the clarity that we need in order to do what we need to do, which is to elect Phil DeLuna and Adrian Curry and Anna Keenan and Mike Morris and everybody else who has stepped forward, as we said, and said it's time to run, it's time for a new generation of politics and politicians. So that's where the focus is, and I did what I felt needed to be done in order to make sure our focus was exactly where it should be. Thank you. Yes, I can.
Hi, nice to meet you. You said as we turn the page, and of course one of the big issues that has been overhanging over the past few weeks of turmoil has been the problems about the Israel-Palestinian issue. Can you please speak to how the issue now fits in as you try to move forward, and what you could say about whether the party is taking stances on it, or your personal stances are allowed? That's my first question.
Thank you very much. With respect to international affairs in general, as I said, I have worked at the International Criminal Court in the Office of the Prosecutor. I've worked for the Government of Canada in our mission to the European Union in our political affairs division on human rights, and I've worked specifically with an NGO, one of the leading NGOs in the world, as a director, focused on the prevention of civilian deaths in cases of deadly conflict. And so I rarely get asked about that, and that's very frustrating because I bring something to the table when I make a statement on behalf of our party, always in line with our member policies. And so in the case of whether it's Israel, Palestine, or any other deadly conflict or escalation in conflict, the principles are always the same. De-escalation in order to, in the immediate term, in order to protect civilians and to prevent loss of human life, and then a return to whether it's track 2 or track 1.5 or track 1 negotiations in order to resolve the underlying issues related to the conflict. All of that has to happen in the context of respect for international law and accountability for those who don't. And the international community will always have a role to play in making sure that anyone who violates international law is brought back into compliance with it. So these are principles I apply to any global conflict, and that is what you should do. We're talking about states. So I hope that this clarifies things for our members. I have only made 2 statements in my entire term as Green Party leader related to Israel and Palestine, both of them in May, both of them in the context of the escalation. So it's a question of whether I will be judged for my actions and what I have actually said, or whether other things which I'm very proud of and also can't control, like the fact that I'm a Jewish woman, enter into play. Being critical of Israel is not anti-Semitism. It absolutely is not. I have never suggested that it is. But I will say that it has been very difficult to me to see the questioning of my commitment to international law and to universal human rights in this context or in any context.
Yes, if I could. So today, the Green Party, I don't know if you had anything to do with it, but the Green Party issued a statement about a Jewish bombing, a terrorist bombing in Argentina 27 years ago, which the anniversary is today. And I'm wondering why that is a Green Party issue. Again, because it has to do with Jewish heritage and
Oh, well, I wouldn't say that it's when we make statements recognizing that there are certain events, whether it's here or internationally, that have a particular significance to people in Canada. I am very proud of my identity, and I won't hesitate to acknowledge our holidays the same way that I acknowledge holidays from other religions and other cultures. I'm not going to hesitate, to pose online with my sons eating habantashen at the holidays and with our Seder plate at Passover. That is part of who I am, and as I said, part of what I bring to politics. In terms of our party, under my leadership and our communications, it is always going to be, as I said, it's going to be based on our values. It's going to be based on respect for human rights, respect for people's identities, and this falls in line with this. We recognize a number of different international events like this when they're particularly painful or there's a particular connection to people in Canada. Thank you.
I'm curious if you can speak a bit to the federal council elections that are coming up. Obviously, you're appealing for unity. You've managed to push off any kind of questions about a vote on your leadership for the time being. But I'm wondering what happens if the federal council elections don't go the way you want them to. Obviously, there's a slate of candidates, for example, the Green Left, who I think have largely rallied around one of your competitors in the leadership race, to be serious. I'm wondering what happens if they win and you're functionally fighting against your own party, even in the midst of a federal election campaign.
Boy, that's a whole lot of speculation in one question. Look, what can I say? I'm someone that I founded the first organization, first institute in Canada, helping underrepresented and marginalized communities elect more people at every level of government. This is the first political party I've ever joined. This is my political home, but I've been in and around politics for a long time. And nothing prepares you for what you face. Nothing fully prepared me for this experience. But what I have learned and what I knew before is that every day is a new day, that you take things as they come. What you're describing to me may happen, it may not happen. What's important right here, right now, are the people behind me, the candidates behind me, the election that we have to fight. I hope not, but we may have to fight next month. That's really where every single Green should be focused if they care about the party. Once every 4 years, and sometimes if there's a minority, a little more often, we have the chance to do what we were born to do, which was to elect more Greens. It's to elect more Greens. That is the #1 mandate in our Constitution. So let's focus, let's focus our attention where it needs to be, on electing more Greens. We have the climate emergency, we have the heat dome. I mentioned that purposefully, intentionally. Hundreds of seniors who escaped death during the pandemic have died during a sudden death during that heat wave. We have towns that are on evacuation warnings right now. We have flooding here and across the globe. We are the climate champions. We are the strong voice for the climate at a time when it is needed, and it's needed more than ever. Okay, so every Green that is elected means that there is a stronger voice for the climate. There is a more scientific voice for the climate, and now more than ever we need that. We need a green recovery. We need to complete our social safety net, and to do that, we need more Greens elected. So I hope that's where everyone's focus is. A couple more in.
Yeah, I do. I think you'd agree with me when I say that the Green Party believes in doing politics differently. You believe in transparency. Why are you just unwilling to speak frankly about what's going on in your own party? You know, I think my colleagues are listening in on this. I think a lot of voters are listening in. I'm just wondering why you won't just explain what's going on. You won't talk about your relationship with your own caucus. You won't talk about your relationship with the federal council. You won't talk about, you know, this process in any sort of detail. You kind of keep going back to this idea that it would be leaking to do so. Why don't you sort of fight for your own leadership more publicly?
This doesn't look like fighting to you? I felt very pugilistic right now, I guess. You know, I don't know if I need to take the gloves off even a little bit more. But this is me. This is, in my case, this is what fighting for what is most important, which is our party in the next election. This is what it looks like. Okay? I can't help you if you feel it should be more aggressive. I can't help you if you feel that it requires me tearing someone else down. I can't help you if it requires me to be something that I'm not. I am who I am. I'm someone that, as I said, is trying to do politics in a different way. I'm trying to do it with...
As a woman, it's a feminist issue too.
I'm trying to, yes, exactly. You know, I'm trying to do this in a different way. I'm trying to show that politics, as Jody Wilson-Raybould said when she said she wouldn't be running in the next election, I'm trying to show it doesn't have to be toxic. It doesn't have to push out the voices of marginalized people. It doesn't have to be a place that is so unwelcome that Mumala Kakala has had to say, I don't feel safe here and I've got to go, despite the contribution that she was trying to make. So I'm giving the information that I'm able to. I'm focusing my attention where it should be, which is on the next election and getting more Greens elected. I support all parts of my party. I hope that those within the party that believe we should go another way, remember that they'll have the opportunity to make that clear and have their vote after the next election. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much.